Hi, everyone, this is the Encyclopedia Channel. The book that this program interprets for you is Life is What You Make It, or What My Father Buffett Taught Me. The Buffett here is the stock god, Warren Buffett. What everyone discusses is often his investment philosophy, but few people may know how Buffett educates his children. And this book can bring us a close experience of his way of raising children. So, how does Buffett's philosophy of life affect the growth of children? What kind of parenting concept does he have? What role did they play in the life path of their children's growth? After listening to this episode, I hope everyone can help in educating their children. What kind of experience is it to have a stock god as a father? Perhaps the easiest thing to think of is to be well-clothed and well-fed, to dominate the financial circle, and to inherit a huge family fortune. However, after reading this book, you will find that this is not the case. Buffett has 3 children, all born in the 1950s. Interestingly, what they do after they grow up has nothing to do with stocks. The eldest daughter, Susie, opened a knitwear store. The eldest son, Howie, is a farmer and photographer. The youngest son, Peter, is the author of the book we are going to talk about today. He is a composer and the most famous of the 3 children. In the 1990 Oscar for Best Picture Dances with Wolves, there is a piece of music from his writing. In addition, he also won the Emmy Award, the highest honor in the American TV industry, for his original soundtrack. Although the author, Peter, had no worries about food and clothing, school and piano lessons, the material support he received from his father, Buffett, was actually not as much as many people imagined. From the book, we can see that after he became an adult, the money he got from his father was basically only a legacy of $90,000 left by his grandfather. After he entered middle age, his father announced that he would give away most of his wealth. Although the author and his brother and sister each took over a fund of $1 billion from their father, it is only a charity fund, and all the money in it is to be donated. You might think, even so, the status of Buffett's son alone will bring him many hidden benefits. This is true, and we will refer to some of them later. However, this identity also brought him a lot of trouble. For example, the author has often heard people say since he was a child, "Are you the son of Warren Buffett? But you look so ordinary." When he grows up, when people hear that he is not in finance but in music, they will ask subconsciously, "Musician? Oh. Is it successful?" This is the trouble he has to face. As the son of a stock god, you don't engage in investment, but you can't be unsuccessful. Many children of elite families and successful people have similar troubles. They have lived in a kind of comparison since childhood, lived in the shadow of their parents, and lived in people's expectations. Regardless of whether they are successful or not, they will be criticized by others. Therefore, Buffett has always had a view on children's education. A child born from a so-called wealthy family will become a stick inserted into his back if he is not careful. Dagger. Why? Maybe, although he was not short of money, he lacked love since he was a child. Maybe, he was lying on wealth, lost his fighting spirit, and spent his days at a loss. Maybe, because he was afraid of his parents being disappointed, he was forced to choose a career he didn't like. Maybe, he got achievement, but not being recognized by oneself. All these will put pressure on or hurt the children. Some people may think that this is all rich people's nonsense. But in fact, almost everyone has to think about these issues when they grow up. Love and materialism, struggle and rest, resources and abilities, external expectations and personal choices, these are not life problems that only belong to a certain group of people. These problems are not so easy to deal with, and being born into the best family may be unremarkable, but if these problems are handled, it may also be a beautiful life. What about the author? In his opinion, in the game of life, his current performance is not bad. Not because of how rich he is, but because he is very happy. He is engaged in the career he loves, doing things he thinks are valuable, and does not regret any key choice in the past. He is very fortunate that his children can have their own unique life. And this is largely due to the philosophy of life taught to him by his father Buffett. Next, let's take a look at the life philosophies that the author has absorbed from his father Buffett. First part. In Buffett's words, his 3 children won the lottery of reincarnation. Why? Is it because they were born rich? Not really. In fact, before the author was a teenager, Buffett had not yet become a stock god. Since childhood, the author has been living in an unremarkable house that looks like a warehouse, and his food and clothing are ordinary. If there is any advantage to his family's house, it may be that it is only 2 streets away from the place where the author's mother grew up. Therefore, when the author was young, he often walked from his own home to his grandparents' home. He described that the journey was like a corridor of love. No matter which end he went to, there were big hugs waiting for him. His childhood memories are filled with the sweetness of ice cream, the colorful candies, the kind smiles and wavings of the neighbors, and those eager to help him with homework. However, he also understands that not every child can have such a growing environment full of love and care. So both he and his father Buffett admit that this is a very lucky thing. That is what we said at the beginning, winning the lottery of reincarnation. This lottery prize has nothing to do with money and material conditions, it has nothing to do with the size of the house, but whether there is love in the house. It does not depend on whether the neighbors are rich, but whether the neighbors are warm and take care of each other. Such a growing environment gave the author a very precious gift, that is, a sense of emotional security. When he grows up, he always maintains a background in his heart, that is, he believes that people are good in general. He is willing to treat people and things in his life with kindness and gratitude. This is why, later on, he also had a great enthusiasm for philanthropy. Many people would think that the behavior patterns of poor children and rich children must be very different. However, sociological surveys have found that these 2 types of children are almost as likely to have extreme behavior orientations. Some of them are withdrawn and closed, timid and cowardly, and some of them are hot-tempered and rebellious. The main factor causing these is not the financial situation of the family, but whether there is love, harmony in the family environment. About stability. Therefore, as an adult, the author also deeply feels that the greatest luck his father brought him was not the success of his career as a stock god, but that he grew up in an environment full of love and warmth since he was a child. Since the author was a teenager, Buffett's career has become more and more successful, and his family has become richer and richer. However, what the author sees is that many things at home have not changed. He still needs to do housework in exchange for pocket money, and the attitude of his parents has not changed much. Father Buffett still wears his khaki pants and cardigan sweater, and works 6 days a week, focused as if out of his body. Why didn't money change the father? The author realized that it was because making a lot of money was never what my father did. He is extremely dedicated to his work, out of love, because the work is challenging and excites him. This also echoes what my father told them later: don't put money first, because the return may disappear at any time. Find a job you love, and then treat the work itself as an end. Money may well follow, but it's never the way forward. The author feels from the growth experience of himself and some people around him that if parents love their work and are full of passion for it, then children will be able to pay more attention to the value of the work itself and want to find their passion. But if parents often show that they don't like or respect their work, and just regard it as an unavoidable chore, then it will also subtly affect the child's concept. For example, the author has seen a sad example. There was a family whose father was a fairly successful investment banker. He made a lot of money, but hated the job, and looked forward to retiring quickly every day. Because of this, he always felt that he should get more money from his work as compensation. So he worked harder to earn money, which made him even less happy. Let's talk about this father's son. He admires his father very much and wants to be a successful person like his father. When he grew up, he entered the real estate industry and did a good job. However, his father's troubles also appeared in him. He described to the author, "I never liked my job, but I didn't think it was a problem before, because I didn't know that a person could like his job. What I saw since I was a child is that my father suffers from the grind of the job, the whiskey, the aspirin, and the skyrocketed. I thought that was the way it was supposed to be. But then, his condition got worse and worse, and he finally went to psychotherapy. During the treatment, he realized that what he learned from his father was not the real professional ethics, but a logic of suffering. This logic itself is wrong. It is the road to success in the eyes of many people, but what it devours is the individual's body, mind and soul. The son finally decided to stop living like this. He started thinking, what do I really want to do? Aside from external things such as salary and fame, what is it that really attracts me? Later, he chose psychological counseling as his career direction. Because counseling had helped him get out of trouble, he wanted to do the same for others. And when he met the author, he has become a person who can reap happiness from his work. He said that this experience taught him a very valuable lesson that he failed to learn as a child, that is, work should be the reward itself. This is actually the life philosophy that the author learned from his father Buffett. Pay attention to the value of work itself and find your passion. The second part. So, how did the author discover his love and embark on the road of music? Although the author has shown some musical talents since he was a child, he really decided to take the road of music after he went to college. At the age of 18, the author entered Stanford University. At that time, his father, Buffett, had already become a celebrity and had many connections. The author also admitted in the book that it was his family background, coupled with the recommendation letter written by Graham, the publisher of the Washington Post, that sent him to Stanford University. This kind of thing is not uncommon in the United States. Many private universities will reserve some admission places for the descendants of celebrity tycoons or outstanding alumni. So, did Buffett send his son to Stanford in order to let him enter a specific field in the future and become an elite? Not really. The author said that his parents did not explicitly tell him what to do and what kind of person he should be. On the contrary, they have always instilled in the children the concept that you can choose what kind of person you want to be. But the problem is that when the author first entered the university, he was still quite confused. He hadn't chosen a major yet, nor was he particularly interested in any subject. Moreover, he was not very confident. Not sure if I deserved Stanford or not. Because of this, he decided to make the best use of his time on campus and not waste the educational resources he had access to. Therefore, he took as many courses as he could afford, including philosophy, literature, basic science, and so on. In this extensive and rich study, he obtained great happiness. Moreover, throughout his freshman year, his parents never asked him to determine his major as soon as possible, which fully gave him the freedom to enjoy knowledge. At the beginning, the author didn't realize how precious this freedom is. Until one day, such a thing happened. When he passed the porch of the dormitory building that day, he heard a girl he knew calling someone on the phone, and he was very emotional. The author quietly walked away. After a while, he saw the girl walking along the corridor, crying as she walked. The author asked the girl what happened. It turned out that the girls were crying with joy. She said that she just opened up with her father and told how broken she is now studying medicine, and she really can't continue. After talking for a long time, her father finally relented and agreed that she didn't need to be a doctor, and she could be a lawyer. When the girl talked about this, she wiped away her tears and said with a smile, "Isn't this too beautiful?" The author froze. He knew he had to say something in support, but his only thought at the time was, wait, this is the end? To be a doctor or to be a lawyer? With so many possibilities in life, you can only choose these one? It made him realize what a rare gift his freedom was. From this, he also thought of a question: what is a privilege? Many people think that being born with a lot of money and having nothing to worry about is a privilege. But the author realized that the real privilege that a person can enjoy is to have the freedom of choice to the greatest extent. It is to be able to spend a lifetime in an open field of vision, rather than being squeezed into a preset in a small space. It is also one of the most precious gifts a parent can give a child, much more precious than money. Later, after entering the second year of college, the author began to feel that compared with the subjects he was exposed to, he still wanted to make music as a career choice. It also happened that at that time, he inherited a family property, about $90,000, which was left by his grandfather. This is also a tradition in the Buffett family. When each child grows up to 19 years old, he will receive a small fortune, which is all the property they can inherit. So, what should you do with the money? The Buffett family has no restrictions on this. The author's brother and sister quickly spent the money after receiving it. But the author doesn't want to do that. After much consideration, he made a prudent decision to leave Stanford University, use the money to open his own music studio, and spend a period of time to figure out whether he can really make a name for himself in music. He calls it trading money for time. the $90,000 inheritance in exchange for time to explore a career path. This decision was not easy, but in retrospect, the author believes that it was a huge step forward for him, because it was the first time he made a major life choice independently, as well as concerns about external expectations, reached a kind of reconciliation. From here, the author officially embarked on the road of pursuing music dreams. He rented a small apartment and equipped it with the necessary music equipment. He started from receiving scattered orders and composing music for commercials, and gradually developed to publishing his own album and composing soundtracks for film and television works. Years later, the author held his own concert and won many awards. Although there have been many twists and turns in the process, we are always moving forward. So, what role did Father Buffett play in the author's career development? If we talk about direct help, it seems that we can only find one, and that is, when the author decided to leave Stanford and use the $90,000 to open a music studio, Buffett helped him make a budget so that he could rely on this money to live as long as possible. This is direct help, and there are some subtle effects. For example, after composing music for commercials for a while, the author began to look for opportunities to score movies. At this time, he faced a choice, that is, whether to move to Los Angeles. The conventional wisdom is that no matter how capable you are, if you want to work in the film industry, you have to move to Los Angeles, where you make connections, ask news, and make goodies. But in the end, the author did not go to Los Angeles, but chose another faraway, more peaceful city, Milwaukee. He said it was partly influenced by his father, Buffett. When Buffett first founded his investment company Berkshire, New York was the absolute center of the financial world, and people thought that if you wanted to invest, you had to go to Wall Street. But Buffett doesn't see it that way. He believes that investing in this matter requires you to keep a clear head and have your own judgment at all times. And where there are crowds of people, you can easily slip into a herd mentality. When you follow everyone to chase hot spots, you may overlook some value depressions that should be paid attention to. So, he decided to stay in Omaha and do things on his own terms. The author's choice not to go to Los Angeles is also a similar idea. There, he thought, it would be easy for him to follow suit, making hits, or imitating the most recent soundtrack successes. However, this is not what he wants. He wants to develop his own music style, build himself into a unique value depression, and attract Bull who fits him. The author is lucky. His first album, Waiting, created in Milwaukee, received a good market response and attracted the attention of some film and television producers, thus opening a new stage of his career. In addition to what we just said, in fact, you rarely see the figure of the author's father when he is exploring his career direction and developing his career. However, the author believes that this reflects his father Buffett's educational philosophy: support, encouragement, but non-interference. When the author just entered college and was very confused, his father encouraged him to try more interesting things, examine his own heart more, and find his passion. When the author decided to drop out of school and open a music studio, his father did not object and helped him plan how to spend the money. When the author was in his early 20s and finally decided to pursue music as his lifelong career, his father Buffett said a word to him, which has always left a deep impression on him. Buffett said, "Son, the two of us are actually doing the same thing. Music is your canvas, Berkshire is my canvas, and I am very happy to add a few strokes to the canvas every day." The author said that for him words like this are enough. The third part. In the last part, let's talk about an issue that is covered in many chapters in the book, that is, how should we choose our career destination? For this question, Buffett's answer is already very clear, that is, choose what you love. However, this matter is not easy. Even after working for many years, many people still don't know what they love. Buffett also understands this. Finding out where your passion lies is a painstaking and mysterious process, and there is also an element of chance. Therefore, he gave the children plenty of free space. He knows that in this process, if parents exert pressure, it may be counterproductive and make children even more unclear about what they want. However, it is not enough to have such a free and encouraging family environment. The author believes that if a person wants to find a career that suits him, he must also have the ability to torture his own heart. What is the torture? We can conclude 3 things from the book. First of all, If you already have a career candidate in mind, you can ask yourself, I want to choose this career because I really like it, or because of other things, for example, others want me to go this way, or is it easier to go this way? In the book, the author mentioned that he also briefly considered whether to go to Wall Street to develop and invest. But later, after interrogating his own heart, he found that the reason why he was moved by this choice was not because he wanted to go, but because it was an easy path. If he enters this line of work, there will definitely be many people wanting to recruit him, many resources will be inclined to him, and he will receive special care and cultivation. But other than that, there is nothing else. So later, he did not invest. He said that although on the surface, this choice is very shrewd, but from a deeper perspective, such a choice is more like a surrender to fate, a failure of imagination. But on the other hand, he also said that if he really felt that he had a passion for financial investment, then he would pursue it without hesitation. Even if someone is going to say in the future he did all this because of his dad, let them say it. After all, if you found something you want to pour your heart and soul into, why care what other people say? The author said, like this, seriously torture yourself, whether you really want to make a career, no one can do it for you. Everyone has to decide for themselves where to spill their blood. If you feel that there is a career that you really want to do you dare to choose it? Many people dare not. Because we often have a worry, although I like the content of this job, but I don't seem to be doing so well. Can I really choose it as my career destination? The author also had similar troubles. The book mentions an interesting little incident, saying that in 2008, the author held his own concert, and his father Buffett also went to join in the fun, and played a piece with him, and then said that he came to see it, and he was in his son's piano class. What about the investment and income? The author said that he actually wanted to ask his father at that time, which piano lesson are you talking about? Because from the time he first came into contact with the piano, he devoted himself to music, and had 4 piano learning experiences in between. Every time he interrupted, he stopped on his own initiative. Is it because he doesn't like playing the piano? No, he likes it very much. Is it because he can't play the piano well? Nor is it. Why? The real reason is that he is afraid. Whenever he starts to feel inseparable from the piano, he becomes uneasy. You will start to feel that playing music has become serious. He vaguely realized that this seemed to be what he wanted to do, so further, he really wanted to do it well. But at this time, he was very afraid. What if his musical talent was actually mediocre? What if he can't make a name for himself in this industry in the future? So, he backed off. Many people may have experienced similar psychological processes. The more we care about things, the easier it is to hesitate and shrink back. Although, in most areas of life, we're pretty good at being average. However, when it comes to career outcomes, being average is clearly not good enough. We don't want to lose out on something we care about very much. Therefore, choosing a career destination will make many people feel fearful and uneasy. Faced with this situation, the author's suggestion is that if you don't have the courage to choose, you can use the method of elimination first. That is to say, first ask clearly, what are the things I am least good at and don't want to do? This greatly simplifies your options. The author himself used this method back then to rule out many career options. He also has a writer friend who also told him that he has long felt that he is destined to take the path of writing. This is not because he is convinced that his talent can stand out from the crowd, but more because he understands his own nature. He likes to be able to explain something clearly to himself and find the reason behind it. He likes to concentrate on doing things. There is no one to disturb him. He likes to restrain himself, and he doesn't like others to tell him what to do. So, where a boss is present, he generally has a hard time getting things done, and that rules out a good portion of occupations. And when you exclude those career options that you don't like and are not good at, and then find the one that you think is the most suitable for you among the remaining options, it will most likely be the optimal solution for you under the existing constraints. Knowing this can also help you strengthen your courage to act. Finally, if neither the selection method nor the elimination method can help you find a career destination, you can continue to ask yourself such a question: do I have to have a lifelong career destination? The author's thinking is, not necessarily. He believes that, in a broader sense, the so-called career destiny is very much like a gravitational pull, which can drag us towards a life that feels right and truly belongs to us. Such a life may or may not revolve around a career. In other words, we need to know that finding a career destination is not our ultimate goal, but creating the life we want is. So, if you feel that finding a career destination is a headache for you, then you might as well change your thinking and think about what kind of life you want to live. For example, the writer mentioned just now can clearly feel that writing is an essential element of his life. But his partner didn't think so. She said that she never sought to define herself with a specific professional identity. She worked many kinds of jobs, but only saw them as a means of subsistence. When they were young, the teacher asked the children what kind of person they wanted to be when they grew up. The other kids would say, firefighters, astronauts, scientists, etc., but her answer was happy people. After growing up, she still thinks this way: people work hard to do business and make money, and they may fundamentally want to live a happier life. So why not go straight to the point and pursue happiness itself? The author argues that the writer and his partner each represent a very different outlook on life, but both are tenable. They speak volumes of how vast the possibilities of life can be. Whether it is to manage a career with heart, pursue happiness seriously, or strive to accomplish other life goals, the conditions they require are not different. They all require us to be patient, have the courage to make choices, and have the ability to torture our hearts. The direction to lead to is the picture of life that we paint for ourselves. Now, let's summarize the key points. Looking at the author's life, he said that he is very clear that he has very superior starting conditions. He also knows very clearly that all that is the achievement of his father, not his. No matter who your parents are, you still need to figure out your own life. Looking back on the process of growing up, the author deeply felt that money cannot buy happiness. Values are the most stable currency. The most precious gift his father gave him was not success in his career, but a family full of love and warmth, as well as full respect for his free choice. His father told him, interest always comes first, wealth follows interest, not interest follows wealth. The most important thing in life is to find your own path. Many people may think that such a concept is too idealistic. Indeed, I had similar thoughts at first. However, there was such a discussion in the book, which made me feel a little suddenly enlightened. The author says that as he writes the book, around 2022, the global economy is in a state of worrying uncertainty. The future that young people see when they raise their eyes seems to be full of thorns. Even his father, Buffett, a legendary figure who is often thought to be able to break the truth, admitted this time that he was a little confused and couldn't see clearly. But the author believes that such confusing times, although difficult, are also an opportunity to help us unload our psychological baggage. What does that mean? He said that in the past few decades, people's criterion for success was often money. So people flocked to where the money is, or where the money appears to be. For example, in the United States, the hottest profession in the 1980s was management consulting, and soon there was a surplus of management consultants in the market. Later, the popular profession became a lawyer, and then the lawyer position was overcrowded. After 2000, the wave of the times turned to the financial industry, and countless people flocked to it, but after 2020, this wave was overwhelmed by artificial intelligence. At the current point in time, 2022 to 2023, the economic environment is even more unpredictable, and the flow of money is constantly changing. A career that is promoted to the altar this month may fall down next month. A person who made a lot of money last year may not be so good next year. Often, when the economic environment is relatively severe, people will be more cautious and limited in their choices. Such caution is of course understandable. However, the author also put forward a different idea, that is, why not do the opposite? If those careers that seem to be the most in line with the mainstream view of success are full of dangers and difficulties, then, is this also an opportunity for us to try some broader options that we really want? If the flow of money is hard to predict, then should we cherish those things that are more constant and lasting than money? For example, from your deepest desire and pursuit. They existed before money and cannot be taken away when money disappears. Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Perhaps, the more unpredictable the external environment is, the more rare opportunity to re-examine yourself. At such times, we need to remember what the book reminds us: the real life is not the part you inherit, but the part you create. We have no way to choose the beginning of life, but we can actually choose what to become in the future kind of person. This is the end of this episode of the show. What do you think about it differently? Welcome to leave a message to discuss with everyone. Hey, if you like our channel, please subscribe us. Haha, remember to like it.